Hey everyone, how's it going? A lot of you have been asking about how I edit my Instagram photos, so I thought I'd make a little video showing how I get the photos from my camera, through my Mac, to my phone, and then onto Instagram for all of you lovely people to see. So I hope this video is insightful in some way and you get to understand the process I go through for every image that I upload. Alright, let's get started. Now if the image was taken on my camera, it will have to come from Lightroom on my Mac to my iPhone. So take this image for example. The way I'll get this onto my phone is by exporting it to my Google Drive. I've just got a preset here, so that will export. There it is. I'll then just rename it. And if we then come over to my iPhone, so I'll just log in. I can then go to my Google Drive. Here's the image that I want to use. And then tap the eye, tap open in, save image. That'll then save that image to my camera roll, so I've got quick access to it to open in editing apps on my iPhone. Go back to the home screen, so go to the photography folder, and then I'm going to open the Visual Supply app, VSCO, tap the add, there's my image that I want to add. So now that I have this imported into my library, I will then go and edit it. So I can just tap the edit icon here. I've got a fair amount of presets through VSCO. I'm not entirely sure where they all came from, if I'm honest. Some of them are from bundles that appeared a couple of years ago, some of them are recent, so I can't necessarily tell you which exact bundle they are, but there's a hefty amount in VSCO, so it's great to just go and have a browse and see what takes your fancy. Generally when I'm looking at images like this, I'll just go through a lot of the presets to see how the film stock is looking. I know I don't want it black and white, and I don't necessarily want it too vibrant. I quite like that faded blue pastel-y tones in my images. F2 is looking great. I'll just go through and choose a few of these. HB2 is also looking good. And I'll spend a good amount of time just toggling between front and back on certain images. M6 normally looks great for me, but on this image I'm not necessarily feeling it. We've got some of the Polaroid ones. P8, that's looking nice. I'm liking this. And let's just have a look through. And no, I don't want it black and white. I'm thinking P8's kind of looking the style that I want it to be. So I'll tap into there, and what I'll generally do is I'll just test how it looks scaled back a bit. Or do I want it at full power? In this instance, I think I'm going to do it at +10. It's kind of got enough of the features that I'd like in the edit, and it's looking how I'd like it to. Let me just tap this icon at the bottom and go into the further editing options. So I can edit my exposure. I can just brighten it up a bit, but to be honest, I think it's fine. Let's just have a look how it looks darker. No, that's too dark. Let's leave it on 0. Go into the temperature. If I slide right, I get more of a warmer temperature. I'm losing a lot in the sky there, so I'm not really feeling that. I generally like the blue tones in my images, so I'm going to slide to the left. I think a -1. You see how I just kind of toggle between -1, -2. I can go -1. Okay. Contrast. Now you can drop the contrast and you get more of a faded image look, or you can increase it and you get the more harsher tones between blacks and whites. I know I definitely don't want it to be too contrasty, so I think I might knock it back. Maybe -1. Done. In terms of cropping and rotating, I generally leave that until I get to the Instagram app, so I don't do any of that in this. Let's just do a bit of the fade. So I love adding a fade to my images. Nothing too crazy, but I'm thinking +3 is kind of about where I want it to be. So, okay. And then we've got a tint, so if I slide to the right I get more of a purpley sort of blue tone. If I slide to the left I get more of a green tone. And we've already got quite a bit of blue from the original film stock and the sky in here, so I'm actually just going to go left -2, and that's going to add a bit of a green sort of tinge to the image. Bring up the saturation so I can increase it a ridiculous amount, and that looks a bit over the top for me. It won't really fit in with the rest of my images. Likewise, if I drop it down, it's a bit too dull, but I think I might pump it up to a healthy +1. Now we can increase the shadows. No, I'm going to leave those. I quite like the darkness of the shadows in the trees. The highlights, so I can bring these back, and that will kind of darken the sky and make sure we haven't got anything that's too blown out. If you go too far though, it can just make everything look a bit dull and not really that interesting. So I'm only going to bring this back about +2. It's always good to sharpen images. Remember, this has come from my camera, so that's obviously a very large image. It's going to be scaled down to an iPhone or a smartphone screen, and that will need some sharpening just because there's a lot of pixels that are going to be squished together and lost. So I'll generally sharpen about a +4 or +3. I'm going to go +3 on this image. I don't really like adding a grain to my image. I think that's just maybe a little step too far in terms of emulating film stock. But I do like adding a highlight tint and a shadow tint. So with my highlights, I'm just going to add a slight, I think it's like a yellowy highlight. If I tap it a second time, you can control just how much you want it to highlight. So you can see it's adding more of a yellowy tone over my image. Like that. And if I zoom in, you can see it's kind of in the center area where it's having the most effect. And if I tap and hold on the image, you can see how it looked from the original to the new edited. So I'm going to do highlights at +5, and then for the shadow, I like adding a bit of a purple or a blue tint to these. I'm going to go with the purple in this image. Again, I'll tap it a second time, bring it down a bit so it's not too overpowering. So you can see from 12 down to a 3 is kind of where I'm at. I like +3, and then we're done. So then I'll just tap this arrow again and press the OK. That's going to save that in my VSCO app, and then from here I can save to my camera roll and go to Instagram and upload it there. So now that that's finished processing, I can tap this up arrow, hit save to camera roll, and choose the size that I want it. So I'm going to do actual size, just because I may want to put this somewhere else at some point. Instagram will resize your image for you anyway, so it's not to worry. Go back to the home screen, and then go into my networks, Instagram. So this is my profile, and you should go and give it a follow if you enjoy these types of images. Let's add the new one. So here's my new image, my most recent one. And from here, this is where I'll actually position and scale everything. So if I just hit next. Now I can add further filters, but I don't really like these Instagram ones, so I'm going to leave that. I've done all of the image editing I want to do. If I go into the spanner icon, you get further adjustments. So I can tap the adjust and I can straighten things out. I think this is pretty straight anyway. I can also reposition, so I want this building to be right in the center. There we go. And then I also like adding an extra bit of color from the Instagram app. So if we go into the color, so on the shadows I can add a further purple or a blue. So I'm just going to tap the blue again, and I'll only do about up to 10% really, just a minimal amount. But again, just like VSCO, you can tap and hold and you can see the before and after. So it's only a slight amount. I've just set it to 9% there. And then the highlights again, just add this slight yellowy creamy, and again only at about 10%, so it's very minimal, but it's just an extra little touch, and I think the Instagram app covers that really well. Okay. And finally, so remember we've gone from my camera to my iPhone, so we needed to apply some sharpening there. We've then gone from the full-size image in VSCO into Instagram, which is also going to resize it further. So I'll just apply a slight bit more sharpening. And the sliders in Instagram are a lot more precise, which is actually really nice. You can just add a small amount. So I'm going to do about 13% here. And then tap done, and then tap next. And all I need to do now is just add a caption to that image and post it so that all of you lovely people can go and see it. So go and check it out, find it on my Instagram feed and leave a comment saying you came from this video. If you enjoy the photos in my Instagram feed, then make sure to go and follow my account. Likewise, if you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to my YouTube and you'll be able to see all of my latest videos. Alright, so that's pretty much me done. I hope you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will see you again soon. Alright, bye.